Okay, so let's take a look at this. So what's going on here, if you kind of look at this, the top power, the 2, is kind of squaring it, and the bottom power is cube rooting it. And so we want to nullify that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to raise it both sides to the reciprocal of that, which would be to the 3 over 2 power, 3 over 2 power. So what I'm really doing here, if you look at it, the denominator tells you what root you're taking. So I'm going to square root both sides. That's basically what's taking place. And then the top power, I'm going to cube it. Now what happens on the left is that the 3 over 2 and the 2 over 3 multiply together to give me 6 over 6. So I'm going to end up with x minus 3 raised to the power of 6 over 6, which that'll just turn into a 1, and it won't really give us much trouble. Now over here, when we convert that to radical form, that will become square root of 4. So since I'm square rooting both sides, I have to put that plus or minus there. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cube that result in a moment. So then from here, basically I'm left with x minus 3 equals, and then this will become plus or minus 2 raised to the third power. So I get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 8, because 2 to the third power. Then we'll go ahead and add 3 to both sides. And so we'll get x equals 3 plus or minus 8. So you want to look at it both ways. You want to look at it as plus and look at it as minus. So 3 plus 8 is 11. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. And there are your two answers. Now, typically, you do kind of want to check these to make sure they do work. I don't believe I gave any problems where they don't both work in this particular case. So any of these fractional exponents, I think you're safe. I don't think you're going to have to worry about getting extraneous solutions. But okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so here we're going to factor this. And so if you look here, basically the guy in the middle is going to tell you how to break this apart. That kind of gives you a hint. So I know I'm going to have an x to the 1/3 and an x to the 1/3. And see, if you multiply that, you add the exponents, and so that become the 2/3 that you're seeing right there. Now, the process here is a little bit more challenging because you have that 7 there. So I am going to do guess and check on this one. You could, multiply the edges and split the middle like I've done on some other videos. But this one's fairly simple. It's not going to be that difficult to do guess and check. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 7 here and basically an understood 1 here. You don't have to actually put it there. But you can see if you multiply that together, that gives you that first term right here. So here's where the guess and check comes in. We got to figure out what to put in this part right here that multiplies to give me negative 1, but then the inner and the outer are going to add up to that negative 6. Well, to multiply to give me negative 1, my only option is negative 1, positive 1. So now it's just a matter of where do I place them. So you really only have 2 that you can try. And so I'm going to put the minus 1 over here and the plus 1 right here. And so you can see that if you were to FOIL it, you'd get negative 7 x to the 1/3, and then you have positive 1 x to the 1/3. And so if you add those together, that's where that minus 6x to the 1/3 comes from. Okay? So then from here, we set each one of these equal to 0 and solve. So 7x to the 1/3 plus 1 equals 0. X to the 1/3 minus 1 equals 0. And so here we'll subtract 1. And then we'll go ahead and divide by 7. Okay. So we'll get x to the 1/3 equals negative 1/7. Then we're going to raise both sides to the power of 3. So we get x is equal to negative 1 over, what's that, 243, I believe. All right. So then this next one will be a lot easier. So what we'll do is we'll add 1 to both sides. So we get x to the 1/3 equals 1. And then what we'll do is we'll cube both sides. And so we'll get 1 to the third power is just 1. So there are your two solutions to that one. And so once again, it is possible that maybe one of those doesn't work, but I'm pretty sure I didn't pick any out that you're going to run into that issue. So you should be fine with both of those answers. And I got one more for us. Oh, wait. I think this is the same. Let's see. Is that the same one? Okay, I guess it was the same one. So just 2 of them. So I hope that helps. If you're still having any problems, don't hesitate to shoot me an email.